Hi, everyone. This is Walter Crawford and Maureen Whitman here to answer your questions that you were very thankful, very wonderful to pose to us just yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we're just grateful that you took the time to ask your questions. And we just wanted to take a moment as the spring semester looms to answer your questions. Maybe some of you are already starting the planning stages for next school year. As a matter of fact, we are as well. And with that in mind, we wanted to take a moment to answer some of your questions through Facebook Live, or using, in this case, Crowdcast. So without further ado, let's get to it. We have a bit of an agenda we wanted to offer here. So can I get to that? There we go. Again, we welcome you. We'll have a prayer in a moment. We'll do a brief introduction, a little bit about Maureen and myself, and our general philosophy towards surrounding homeschool connections. We'll then turn, which is really the bulk of our time, to answering your questions, and then we'll wrap up. So let's start off with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you very much for the gift of your most blessed Mother. Thank you for all the many blessings that you give us, including her, on this special day. And we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. And for those of you who are following my theology, I should have said, Dear Jesus, thank you for your blessed Mother. But without further ado. All right. So let's talk about a little bit about us. In the beginning, let's stay scriptural here for just a moment. Maureen and I started this endeavor about 10 years ago as a means to provide online webinars to parents who couldn't make conferences. And well, those went over not quite as well received as we had hoped. And as part of that, I might add, it was really my effort in the beginning. And then I asked Maureen to be part of that. And she actually volunteered, as a matter of fact. So with that in mind, my daughter has come into the room. Hi, sweetie. This is a family-friendly show. Anyway, what Maureen was able to help me formulate a plan, and that plan that turned into an opportunity for us to offer classes, because that's what we were hearing from other parents. They wanted to see that's where their help was needed most, right. Not in webinars, but specifically in courses. A lot of Protestant organizations were already doing this, and consequently, we thought maybe this would be an opportunity for us to help the homeschool community, and that's what it turned into. And now that was we started off in April of 2008, as a matter of fact, with our first course, Ed Rivet, and the government course, and here we are 9.5 years later, continuing the effort with 35 or so instructors and servicing probably over 4,000 to 5,000 families is my guess. The numbers we don't have the precise numbers necessarily, but it's in that ballpark. So let's get to the real bulk of.
So Walter, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
I think people are only seeing the PowerPoint. Do you want to go back and forth between the video of us or just the PowerPoint?
Sure. Let's. I guess for now, that's a good question. So. Why don't we stay with the PowerPoint, and then we'll in a moment we'll come back and just show our wonderful faces. So we got a question for we took a number of questions, as we said earlier, and we collected a lot of questions from a lot of folks. And by the way, thank you very much for those submissions. And we thought we would go ahead and just kind of categorize them. And this first question that we got was from Lori. And the question goes, are you accredited? And if not, how does that affect your diploma? and getting accepted into schools?
So we are not accredited, and that is by design. We have no plan to ever be accredited. It gives us a certain amount of freedom not being accredited, and it's not really necessary for K-12 education. In very rare circumstances is it necessary. Accreditation is basically a private, is something that's done through a private agency. It's not something that's mandated by the government. It is something that is done to make so that parents can make sure that a school is not just a diploma mill. But then you also need to make sure the accrediting agency is legitimate because, again, there's no oversight of this. So an accreditation tends to put boundaries on a school. Well, we're not a school. We are a curriculum provider. We provide individual courses. And if we were accredited, we would need to become a school. We would need to offer a set curriculum. It would also increase the prices that we charge because accreditation is a very time-consuming, very expensive process. So by not being accredited, we're able to keep prices low. We're also able to offer a lot of different out-of-the-box courses to you. And it also gives parents a lot of freedom to pick and choose courses that fit their children's needs. Our policy is that parents are the accreditors. Instead of an outside agency, the homeschool parent is the one who does the accrediting. Now, what are those rare cases where you would need accreditation? Most colleges do not require an accredited diploma. Very few do. You always want to check in advance, but typically those are state colleges in California, I believe. So you always want to check, but very rare. If you have plans on putting your child back into a site-based high school, a public school, they may ask for an accredited transcript. If you don't have one, then what they'll do is test your child to make sure that they are in line with their curriculum. The other case where you may need an accredited transcript is if you are, your child is applying for a sports scholarship through the NCAA. So you would need to work with them and get your courses approved. So what do you do if you need an accredited transcript and you want to have the freedom to pick and choose courses like you do at Homeschool Connections? Well, what you do is you work through an accrediting agency. You pay extra and have an outside service accreditate your courses that you're taking with us. So it's always possible to still get our schoolwork accredited.
Great. Thank you, Maureen. That's a wonderful answer. Yeah, and so let's go back to the PowerPoint. Here we go. And so the next question was from Lori. In what order, specifically talking about scope and sequence now, we transition away from accreditation, we go to scope and sequence. In what order should we do classes for different subjects? And she mentions the fact that she is aware of the scope and sequence that we have laid out on the webpage.
Right. Yeah, so if you go to our website, homeschoolconnections.com, and click on free resources and then click on scope and sequence. And at that page, we have a lot of support for you and helping you decide what courses you want to take in what order. Because every child's different, every family is different. So what courses you decide to take for high school or even middle school are going to depend a lot on that child, learning style, what they've already taken. Could even depend on what state you live in, what they want to do. Are they going to go to college? Are they going to go to trade school? Are they discerning a vocation, a religious vocation? So all those things you want to take into consideration. So if you go to that free scope and sequence page at our website, there's a form there, and it has a list of questions that you answer and really helps you think through the process, gather your resources, and figure out what courses you should take in what order. And we have lots of samples of scopes and sequences, a basic scope and sequence. Here's what the typical student takes who's college bound. And then you could build from that, adding or deleting courses and what's going to fit your particular situation in your homeschool.
And so the next question comes from, we're focusing on about elementary school. From Lori, are there elementary school classes? And from Heather, are there more upper elementary classes on the agenda?
Right. When we first started Homeschool Connections, we first started offering online courses. We had made the decision to only offer high school. Later on, we added middle school. And the reason for that is the way we use the technology. And we just didn't really think it was appropriate for younger children. We would rather see those kids outside playing. Mom needs to be more involved. You can't sit them down in front of a computer to watch a 45-minute lecture. And a lot of them don't have the skill to type. So we are looking at different ways to bring an elementary education online in an affordable way. We've done some testing, we've done some trial runs. So it's definitely something we're considering, we're working on, but it's not something you're going to see in the next year or two. Pray for us, pray that God leads us. We always say the Holy Spirit is our CEO. So we're looking for God's will in this. But for the time being, there are a lot of great elementary programs out there. You can go to Mater Ambulis, which is a free Catholic Charlotte Mason education. There are plenty of home study schools. There are plenty of resources to create your own Catholic Heritage curricula, etc. So, the public library. Our philosophy is young kids should be outside, playing, reading a lot, and a little more relaxed than when you get to older ages. So if you need help, email us. We'll send you what help we can. But hopefully in the next few years, we will have an elementary program for you.
Yeah, I think that's the spot on answer, because I think one thing I think everyone's sympathetic to, especially nowadays with all the technology that we have, is screen time, right? Screen time is a big deal.
Yes.
I know in our house, we're trying to manage it. We're trying to set the right disposition towards screen time. In our family, they have 30 minutes of screen time a day. And the idea is that, and this is what it's come down to, is that they begin to manage it themselves. So after 30 minutes, they know when it's time to turn off the TV.
Yeah.
And as opposed to me always having to tell them, or my wife's always having to tell them, or there's an internal clock that's set, and it's worked out really well for us. So and the same goes with being in front of the computer for classes and whatnot. Even at the young age, even at the high school or even middle school age, there really shouldn't be. And we would never advocate students in front of a class or in front of a computer screen for 8 hours a day or even 5 hours a day. 3 hours a day it's almost maybe the threshold for some students. So we're not a big advocate, even though we are a technology, or we use technology to facilitate the learning experience. By no means do we see it as the only source of information, and which is another reason why we're real sensitive to the idea of younger kids taking classes in the same format, say maybe a middle schooler or high schooler might.
Right.
Yeah. So our next question, or rather our next category, falls under limited access. And we'll start off with these separately because they do cover different kind of components of unlimited access. And for those of you who may not be familiar with it, I'll come on screen here for just a moment. Unlimited access is our recorded courses. So our live classes are taught, as you might imagine, in a live setting. Real time, students meet at a designated point in time, and they get a reminder email of when they're supposed to be in class and things of that sort. And the recorded classes, or the unlimited access service, is basically those classes that are archived. Those live classes are archived and now made available as a service. And it's a full lesson plan. It's a full-on lesson plan along with the instruction that the teacher provided. Some of the classes have automated quizzes that are graded automatically. Some of them have where the instructor can actually grade assignments that were submitted, even if you're taking it as a recorded class, and that's part of the instructor access service. And some have answer keys. So either way, you'll have access to the answers to the quizzes or the essays or whatever that are supposed to be part of that curriculum. But so that's what unlimited access is. Now let's turn our attention to the questions at hand. Sorry for the go-between. Hopefully this is not making you spin too much here. So from Lori, she asks, is there a way to have more than one student take a recorded course at the same time? The answer to that is simply a yes. Absolutely. In fact, the unlimited access service, I'm getting a little sun here, so forgive me if one face is like glaring here. So the question about taking a class at one student taking more than one class at a time, the answer is simply yes. One account is a family account. So you could have, let's say, a 9th grader logged in on one computer, an 11th grader logged in another computer at the same time with one account, and still being able to take separate classes at the same time. The one condition you need to be aware of, it's one account. So those grades are logged for each of those courses under that one account. So they're not going to have the student name assigned to it. It'll just be the family name. So it's really probably in your best. It's really the best idea surrounding that would be to take good notes or careful notes about their progress in those respective courses and who's doing which course. So that's going to help you as a parent note where they're at or what grade they received for that particular course. Maureen, did you want to add anything to that?
No, that covered it. If they want to take the exact same course together, that's no problem. Parent just needs to make sure that they're up on their record keeping and recording quizzes, because quizzes reset. So if one student takes a quiz and if the second student's taking the exact same course, you need to record that quiz grade before the second student takes it. And it's really the only extra step you need to take, but it's definitely doable, and it keeps it inexpensive. You can pay extra to have each student have an extra account, have their own account, but this is the affordable way to do it. And it's just one easy extra step.
Yeah, and so from Jenny, if I'm doing recorded classes, how do I know what classes to choose for my kids? There are so many, it can be overwhelming.
Yeah. So same thing as we were saying before, right, with the scope and sequence. I would go through those steps, homeschoolconnections.com, free resources, scope and sequence, and download the form there. And that's going to help you pick and choose classes. It can be overwhelming. We have 275 courses. It's a lot. But that's also from 6th grade to 12th grade. And they're also broken up by subject. So you can pick and choose. What I suggest doing is sitting down with your student and going through the catalog together. So if you have a student who's interested in being an astronaut, there's a space flight science course for that student. If they really want to learn apologetics, there's a whole series of apologetics. And then you can whittle down what order, which apologetics courses you can take. So it's going to be a discussion between you and your students, you and your spouse. And again, going through that form and figuring out what they need, what they have to have, and then also figuring out what they want to have, what they're going to want to take for enjoyment, to keep education alive and fun.
Yeah, and so the next question is from Lynn. Is there a time limit for completing a recorded course?
Well, yes and no.
And yeah,
go ahead, Walter.
Go ahead. No. Well, I was going to say that with unlimited access, the great thing about it is, for as long as your subscription lasts, there is no time limit per se. However, if you decide to use instructor access as part of that equation, where you are employing the energies and efforts and expertise, is probably a better way of putting it, of the instructor to grade the assignments of your student, well, then in that situation, let's say it's a 10-week course, or let's say it's a 12-week course, to extend that course to 24 weeks wouldn't be the best approach to take, right? There's some due diligence on your part to complete the course in a timely fashion, usually between 2 to 3 weeks beyond maybe the recommended time slot, which would be a total of 15 weeks.
And the nice thing about that is it keeps the student accountable. They're
Correct.
not just going
Yeah.
to lollygag. They have to be respectful of the teacher's time. And so it's much like taking a live course.
That's right. And maybe the other reason, or maybe the other condition, or the time constraint around unlimited access is if you decide to use single access, which is basically unlimited access to one course. If there's so in effect, you're buying access to a course for 6 months, and it's really just it's by the way, it's a semester of a course. So let's say it's chemistry. It's a chemistry course. Chemistry's a 2 semester course. When you buy instructor, or rather when you buy a single access, you're buying access to that one semester, and you have access to that one semester for 6 months. So that would be another maybe condition in which you would have a time limit to consume that course, and so that would be the other criteria, if you will, that
Mm-hmm.
would get in the way of that. So yeah, great question. I like that. It's a great question. It has a lot
It
of kind of
is.
layers to it. Yeah, and from Lynn, is there a time limit? Oh, well, we already asked. That was a question we just got to. From Jennifer, what is the best way to use recorded courses for multiple students in one family?
I think we already answered that. It's really easy. You can be on multiple computers, all taking different courses on the same account at one time. So another thing you can do is if they're taking a course together, or you're taking a course as a family, plug the computer into the TV and watch together that way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, our philosophy, and this is really an important point we didn't underline or underscore earlier, but our philosophy around the homeschooling is something that I would say is we're here to help you. We're not here to replace you. We're not a school, as Maureen pointed out earlier. So think of us as your best friend helping you with schooling your children. And we do it from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to go anywhere. Your students don't have to go anywhere unless your connection's poor and you need to go to the library. But um, that's what we're here for, and that's our mantra. We're not here to replace you. We're here to support you, and to that end, it means that you have complete jurisdiction over kind of their level of achievement and also even their grades. Well, we'll assign you a grade. You are the ultimate purveyor of that grade. In other words, if you feel like that student operated at a lower scale or a higher scale than the grade that was received for the course, then so be it. Put it on the transcript, or track it in your records, whichever the case may be. But we're not here to supplant you and your role in all this. We're here to augment the role that you do have in all of it, and here to help you in any way we can. And certainly to lend that expertise that maybe you feel like isn't necessarily part of your repertoire. And that's kind of another layer to it. So all right. So about planning, we have the next set of questions is around planning. And by the way, you're looking at the slide here. It says from Jenny. These are not all her questions. She put a caveat. These are questions that she's heard from other parents. They're all great questions, so we wanted to make sure we had them addressed. How does a parent know what is being taught? Rain, do you want to
Sure.
take that one?
So, how do we know what's being taught? Several ways. One, look at the course catalog, the registration page, and there will be a course description which will lay out here's what's being taught. Usually, there will be a weekly layout of what's being taught each week. Homework is laid out, etc. Also, parents can sit in on classes and look over your child's shoulder, sit in, watch the recorded version that evening. Or, you can even connect with the teacher. We can connect you via email. If you need to call the teacher and talk, you can do that too. So we are happy to do that. In the past, we have done some meet and greets, webinars with teachers, and we're talking about maybe doing that for next school year. With 35 teachers, it gets a little difficult to schedule that many, but we are seeing if there's a way we can do that easily. But again, we can always connect you to the teacher. Email, phone, Skype. Again, check the catalog, and always connect with us if you have questions about what's being taught in the course.
Yeah, and I would say that one of the great things about our format is because they're recorded, and I think you may have hit on this, Maureen, but because they're recorded,
Right.
there is no secrecy to what's being taught. And I think that that's really a key ingredient to all this. Unlike a lot of settings where students are being provided a lot of information. It sure is nice to know what the teachers are teaching, and this is really a perfect venue to figure out what they
Right.
are teaching, right? I mean, there's no shell game here. This is it's what you see is what you get, and so from that point of view, it's another kind of benefit to taking the classes and the way they're taught, and certainly one of the reasons why we record them for sure. Um, do we get to meet the teachers, and do they provide grade reports and course summaries for transcripts? I can talk to the first question. Why don't you talk to the second one, Marina? So with meet the teachers, Maureen kind of touched on that a little bit, where we tried to provide access to them as much as possible by way of contact through phone and email and that sort of thing. But beyond that, you can always we can run a little interference there too. In other words, if you have general questions about kind of their approach, and it's also worth mentioning for the next school year, one of the things that we're going to be doing, and we already have the ball in motion on this one, is if you have questions about maybe their style of teaching. One of the things that we're going to be doing is providing you as a parent a quick indicator in the course catalog to know their approach, and we're going to be segmenting that up into three basic parts, meaning their styles. So you're going to see a label adjacent to that particular teacher that'll in the course catalog and also in their courses as well. That'll tell you if they're more heavily on discussion, if they take a more engaging approach, or they take a more college lecture approach. So that's going to be a new enhancement to the course catalog coming next school year that I find what we anticipate being well received by all parents. So how about the second part of that question, Maureen, which is do they provide grade reports and course summaries for transcripts?
Right. Well, again, the course summary you would get from the website or from the course catalog, and all that information is there. And you can just copy and paste that right to a transcript. If you need more information, connect with us or the teacher. What was the first part of that, Walter?
It was, I'll bring it back up just to make sure. Do they provide grade reports? Yeah.
So if you're taking a live course, or if you've elected for instructor access with the recorded courses, the teacher does provide a grade. You can also pay extra and have a transcript if you're taking a live course, which gives you a kind of an official grade report. But again, as Walter mentioned previously, parents are the ones who give the final grade. As we are not a school, the parent is still the primary educator. So let's say your student got a B and you thought they really were capable of A work. You can give them extra credit, have them redo the course as a recorded course. One of the things about our live courses is everything's recorded, and you have access to that for at least 6 months after it's completed. So we do that for a number of reasons. One, if you want them to redo work, if something happened, there was a family emergency, they couldn't finish the course, or if they want to review for the next school year. So we do issue grade reports for live courses and for instructor access, but ultimately the parent gives the final grade. For recorded courses done strictly on your own, they're self-paced, they're independent learning, you would issue the grades for those. But there are grading helps within the course. There are answer keys, automated quizzes, all those things that help you grade.
All right, and so the next question is, who will teach me and my child how to use the technology before we start class? So there's kind of two parts to this, and you might even may even say more than that. But in a nutshell, with regard to the technology, one of the things that we try to do is to provide you with the ability to know in advance, even before you even attempt to register for a class or enroll in the limited access service, to be able to do a diagnostic of your particular computer that you're going to be using. And there's a link that's provided off the webpage that will actually let you do a diagnostic to see if your connection is proper, whether it's good enough. Also to see if you have the right software installed. And while Adobe Connect currently, which is a platform that we use, uses in part the Adobe. I'm sorry, uses Adobe Flash Player, I should say. That is beginning to phase out, and it's going to be using another type of web platform, which is HTML5, and that's going to make
Bob, can
this
you
a
do me
little
a
bit.
favor?
It's going to be a lot easier um, for us to use,
Visit my
rather, it's going to be a lot easier for students to use the technology and not have to necessarily download anything. So that's the first thing I tell you. Secondly, we have course monitors that are in each of the classes that are designated to help the students kind of get acclimated. And by and large, most of the first, I guess about the first 20 to 30 minutes of the first class is committed to making sure the students have a working microphone, making sure they know how to chat, that sort of thing. So there's monitors that are not teachers that are in the classroom that are there to help the students with the technology. And lastly, I would just say that if there is ever an instance that neither of those are helpful, and there's some additional issues that do come up, well, we're there for you. We take questions all the time from parents when they're having trouble with something, and about 99% of the time we can resolve them. I think in this school year, we've an all-time low with people dropping the live class experience for because their connection wasn't strong enough or their technology wasn't working. I think we were like 1 or 2 students, which is out of 1,000 students taking classes, we're in the like 1,000th of a, where that's a really small percentage. That's a pretty good, and my friends in black belt would know the Six Sigma of of learning. That's pretty good when you have that little error ratio. So we're pretty happy about that. So the platform is pretty sound, but we're here to help when the technology is not working for you. We'll do everything we can to make sure it does. All right, next question. What are the requirements for someone to teach a class? And I think this is a great question that we I don't often get because I think people put a lot of trust in us, but it's worth pointing out we do our due diligence to make sure that they're going to be good for your students. Maureen, did you want to maybe tack on to that, and I'll kind of piggyback?
Sure. Well, first of all, you can meet all of our teachers by going to the website and clicking on About, and then clicking on Instructors. And there you'll see all their pictures, all their bios. You click on that teacher, and you're going to learn more about them. We require a lot from our teachers. We're always looking for good teachers. Most of them, as Walter said before, come to us through referrals. Of course, they need to know their subject matter. They need to be experts in their subject. They need to be able to teach. They need to be able to get that information through to the student. They need to be enthusiastic about their subject matter. Emotions are contagious, right? So if a teacher is not excited about their subject matter, if they're not in love with teaching, if they're not in love with what they're teaching, we can't really expect students to learn well. So that is a big requirement for us. We have teachers actually teach to us. They do a mini class. They teach directly to Walter or to me, so we can see how they interact in the classroom. Of course, they need to be comfortable with video. We've had excellent teachers come to us who were not comfortable being in front of a camera. So that's a requirement as well. And of course, they need to recognize that our student body consists of Catholic homeschool students. So all of our courses are taught through a solid Catholic ethos. They need to be respectful of that. They need to know and love the faith like we do and share that with our students.
I don't think I could add anything to that. That's really well said. That was really good. Um, great question, and thank you, Maureen, for
Yeah,
that. Yeah, that's good.
you're welcome.
So let's turn our attention to the subjects for just a moment. So we're specifically focusing on, and I think we can answer these questions with one response. So I want to read them both.
Yes.
Can geography and civics government classes be added at the middle school level? That's from Heather. Thank you, Heather. And from Danielle, will you add more advanced ASL classes?
And so right now, at this very moment, we are planning the 2018-2019 school year. So it's always good to let us know what you need. I will definitely take these 2, 3 into consideration in looking for teachers. And it will depend, of course, to whether or not the right teachers come to us. What we offer really is teacher driven. If we don't find the right teacher, we don't offer it. But there's always the recorded courses if we don't have something live this year. Right now, we don't have a middle school level government course, but you could do the high school level one, the introductory one, and do it as a family, maybe lighten up on the homework. So anyway, ASL, advanced ASL is something I'm looking for. I'm actively looking for a teacher. I have a teacher who may be able to do middle school civics, middle school government, and even geography. So those are things I'm all looking into right now. So let us know in the comments here, or email us, call us, let us know what courses you're looking for. And also, if you know a teacher, if you know a really good teacher, send them to us. They can just go to the website, homeschoolconnections.com, click on the instructor page, and there'll be a link that says something along the lines of, do you want to teach for Homeschool Connections? And what we do is we have them upload a video of themselves, give us a synopsis of their experience, and then then we move the interview process from there. We'll ask for a CV if we like what we see. So if you know good teachers, send them to us. If there's a course or a subject you want covered that we're not covering, let us know. Just always reach out to us. We're very open to what our parents and our students need and want.
Yeah, and I would only add to that, because I think it's just really important to point out that, and you kind of hit on a little bit, Maureen, is
Yeah.
we, one of our ambitions is to always serve the homeschool community. And as a result of that, we're very responsive. At least we think we are. We're responsive.
We try.
We try to be very responsive to the questions that come up. As we wouldn't be doing this, for example, if we didn't feel like it would be an aid or a help to those that have questions about who we are. And in turn, we try to give everyone the best possible information about us as possible, that we can provide. And if we can't get it to you in the moment, we will find it out and see if we can provide that service or course or whatever it might be later on. I mean, one of the reasons why we have unlimited access to begin with was because of an ongoing request provided by parents. And we looked at the possibility of offering it. It was not something we offered in the very beginning. In fact, I think we only offered
it live classes.
Yeah, and I think it took us about 2 to 3 years to set up unlimited access, I want to say. Maybe about since we started teaching live classes, because we didn't know quite how we wanted to do it, or who wanted it, and if there's
no one else was doing it in those days. It was just us.
Yeah, and so
so we could look at other Catholic homeschooling organizations and say, well, here's how they do it. We had to figure it out, and we've always done a lot of polling and been really responsive to parents. The whole reason we offered classes was because we were just doing webinars, and parents emailed us and said, can you use this technology for classes?
Yeah.
A lot of what we do is the transcript service, instructor access. All those things are in response to requests from parents.
Yeah, and we're trying to create a formula for the parents so they can easily consume it. Now, are there areas for improvement? No question. We know that. We're aware of it. But by the way, it's because of your input that we are aware of it. And so keep those ideas coming. Keep the input coming our way, because we welcome it. It's the only reason why we're able to do this now, because you're submitting your feedback and we are listening to it. And we may not have an answer for you for even a few years, depending upon the nature of the question. But we are trying. We will definitely try to meet your needs, meet you where you're at, because that's clearly one of the things we realized it's important, because time is of the essence, right? You're teaching your class, you're teaching your kids now. It's not you can wait a year or two usually to get what you need from us. So that's another reason why it's so important for us to get back to you as soon as we possibly can. All right, I think we're kind of winding down here. Let's look at the next slide. All right, so some additional questions came in. What do you do if you miss one of your live classes? One of the live classes? Simply put, I can answer that. The great thing is all the classes are recorded, as we mentioned earlier, and those are posted usually the night of the class, if not the next morning, early the next morning, so the students can immediately consume the content either later that evening or the next morning. So we try to get that out there as quickly as possible in the event that they were sick or maybe returning from vacation or were doing some pilgrimage or whatever the case may be. We realize that that's kind of the wonderful, we're trying to supplement the wonderful experiences that you as a homeschooling family have a chance to participate in, and realizing that recorded sessions can help with that. From Danielle, any chance of adding a virtual social club for kids to chat outside of class time? They live in a rural location, and something would be wonderful for the high school son. And by the way, first off, thank you for the question. You're not the only one. Your son is not the only one who may feel that way, right? There are a lot of students that I think kind of deal with that feeling of loneliness. Um, in fact, we do already have. It's not necessarily homeschool. We don't have the stamp of approval from Homeschool Connections. But what I mean by that is
We didn't set it up
we didn't
ourselves.
set
A
it up
student
ourselves.
did.
It's probably a better way of putting it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
a student set up a platform that is only comprised of Homeschool Connection students. So if you want to know more about that, reach out to us at homeschoolconnections@gmail.com, and we can put you in touch with your approval as a parent. First and foremost, we'll put you in touch with the student who set this up, who is the admin for it. And there are some rules of conduct and things of that sort that they have to follow. But by and large, it's a community of Homeschool Connection students who can do exactly as you described it. They can chat, they can have a social experience online. And so your son would have that dynamic, even if it's not the full experience of having someone sitting right next to him. It's still an opportunity to get to know students with shared experiences through Homeschool Connections and the courses that they take from us. So yeah, reach out to us at homeschoolconnections@gmail.com, and we will we'll take care of that. And the last question, I believe, is how does a coursework compare to a program like Seton, which worked well for my daughter but has been too much for my son? I'm going to
Right.
let
Every kid is different, right?
yeah, no doubt.
Every child is different. What works for one may not work for the other. A Seton Home Study is a school. You also have Colby and Mother Divine Grace and others. So we have students from Seton and Colby and other schools, online schools, or home study schools, who take courses with us to supplement. So, we're designed so you don't have to use us as a full curriculum. You can use us to supplement what you're already doing. If you want to do something similar to Seton for your son, but lighten it up, you could do that with us. A lot of our courses line up with what Seton is doing. For example, they use Saxon Math. We have Saxon Math also, as well as other math books you can choose from. We do use Wheelock Latin, and I believe Seton uses Henley. So a lot of what we do is similar to what they're doing, only we're not a school. So you're picking and choosing. So yeah, for your son, it sounds like that would work for him, that you could do something similar, but lighten it up a little bit. Does that answer it, you think, Walter, or is there more to that?
No, I think that that's a really good answer. And you have a more well-rounded understanding of the offerings that are out there than I do personally. So when we've been kind
Yeah.
of an eclectic pull from here, pull from there kind of approach, um, and and it's been kind of and certainly part of that equation is homeschool connection courses, but we have not had a chance to necessarily experience what Seton has to offer. They're a great program for a lot of wonderful families, and so and we feel the same about the other providers like Mother Divine Grace and Queen of
Right, which
Heaven
is why we
and
operate the
Colby.
way we operate. I
Hmm.
mean, for years people would tell me I should start a home study school, and I always said no because there's already so many good programs out there. I'm not going to reinvent it. So we are different in that way. We serve parents like Walter and me who tend to be more eclectic, And we're not a home study school, you know.
Yeah.
But we can supplement those. We can support those schools if it's needed.
Yeah, and I think that couldn't be a better way to tie a bow on that one, because I think that this is, we're here to help, right? We're here to help, whether no matter what curriculum you're working with, or whatever program you're using, we're here to help. And I think that, and that's one of the reasons why you see this wonderful graphic on the screen. While we're one of the winners, or rather, we won the iLearn Awards from Practical Homeschooling. We run 2 first places and a second place. So, and that's it's a wonderful award. It's an annual thing, and we did not submit ourselves. That someone else submitted and
No,
nominated us.
it's totally,
You
it's
know?
users who nominate you and it's users who vote.
Yeah.
So Practical Homeschooling doesn't pick the nominees. They don't pick the winners. It's done completely by users.
And I think, it's funny about that, because I think we got notified that we were nominated again. And I think the last time we were nominated was in 2013, and we won an award then too. But this year, I think we actually put out one Facebook post about it, if I recall correctly. That's it.
Yeah,
And it
just
was
saying,
just,
hey, we've been nominated. Yeah.
yeah, just to let everyone know that we were nominated. But we suspect that a lot of other people, we don't know how many votes we received or how many votes are submitted. We know nothing. We just know the result, and we know that we're nominated. And so, so it's a credit to, I think, the work that Maureen does. It's a credit to the staff at Homeschool Connections, and it's a real credit to the monitors, the course monitors, and the teachers who help pull all this
And you,
together and make it
Walter.
possible. And me, who have children barging in all the time during the webinar here, and um, but yeah, no, we're very thankful for the work and energy that everyone puts into this endeavor, and thankful to the parents who continue to help us get better by giving us feedback, and to the students who continue to appreciate what we do. So again, we tip our hat to you in this blessed Advent season. And on that note, we just want to say thank you for those of you who are watching this in a recording. Thank you. And if you have questions, feel free to continue to submit them at homeschoolconnections@gmail.com. And we look forward to another great upcoming 2018 and certainly 2018-19 school year. And y'all have a great day, and a wonderful Advent, and a most holy and a great Christmas too.
God bless you all. Thank you.